Good morning and welcome to this morning's episode of Quarantine Kitchen. Today I'm going to make some dry spiced potatoes and peas. I was going to make a curry, but I've run out of tomatoes and I didn't want to keep rushing out to the supermarket. So I'm using what I have in my fridge. So before I started, I parboiled, that means boiled till just ever so slightly soft, the potatoes that I had. I'm using baby potatoes, which I got from Trader Joe's, but you can just take any potato if you have a larger one and cut it up to the right size. About 2 inches by 2 inches, I would say, is a good surface area to get really good flavor on all of the different edges of your potato. So let's get started. So the first thing that I'm going to do is add a tablespoon and a half of oil to the pan, and then I'm going to saute off my onions. Idea at this point to open some windows and put in some vents, because otherwise you end up with an odor kitchen. I have here the equivalent of about one small onion. Any onion will do, anything you have in your fridge, so don't worry which onion you're using. I have a white onion here. So I'm going to make sure that the onions are covered with the oil. I'm going to gently stir this every few minutes just to make sure it's not sticking to the bottom. If you find it is sticking to the bottom, depending on what pan you're using, then just add a little water, which kind of sweats them off. Once your onions have softened and are a little transparent, then make sure you turn the heat down and then add your ginger and garlic. The reason you turn your heat down is because you don't want the ginger or garlic to burn. Ginger and garlic can give out quite an acrid taste if it ends up burning. I love using ginger and garlic in pretty much everything. They're both antibacterial, they're both good for helping with digestion. Ginger is very good and universally known for nausea. It also brings down your LDL cholesterol. So many different properties for ginger and garlic. This onion, ginger and garlic is pretty much the base for most Indian dishes. I'm going to add my spices. I'm going to add cumin, coriander, both in the powder form, and a little bit of fennel seeds as well. I'm going to add it at this point because we want them to bloom, so we want the flavor to kind of come out, and you need to do that in oil. You can't just add the dry spices. This is my grandmother's spice dabber that she left to me, and I use this for storing all my spices. I didn't really know how to cook Indian food until 4 years ago when she gave me these dabbas. So it tells you that it doesn't take long to become an Indian cook. You just need a spice dabba, and you need to just want to experiment a little bit. You'll be able to smell the different spices at this point. That's because you're blooming them in the oil. I'm also going to use a little bit of turmeric in this. I'm adding turmeric to everything at the moment. Again, it's very good for you. It's very good for your immune system. It's very good for inflammation, so it doesn't hurt to add a little bit of turmeric. Adding a little salt here as well. I'm going to add pepper a little later on. My mix is starting to stick a little bit, so I'm going to add a little bit of water. Just allow everything to keep cooking for a bit. I'm going to be using frozen peas, so they'll release a little bit of water too, so you don't want to put too much water in. Add the pepper in now as well, and later on we can adjust for the seasoning. Now some of you are going to say to me, "But Sasha, I don't have cumin, coriander and fennel, all these fancy spices." Well, if you don't have any of those, then use curry powder. Do you have curry powder? What about garam masala? Do you have garam masala? If you're using garam masala, use just slightly less because it has cloves and cinnamon, so it's quite a rich masala. If you don't have any of those, do you have salt and pepper and paprika? Use those. Any spices are good. Most spices have got some really good medicinal properties for you, and they obviously have very good flavor. So it's all good. Use whatever you have in your pantry. This is starting to smell really good. Okay, so now I'm going to add my potatoes and peas. And make sure they're well covered with all of the different spices and flavors. It's about 1 cup of peas there, and that's to add in a little bit of extra protein as well. Peas have protein, you ask me? Yes, all green vegetables have protein, and in fact 1 cup of peas have about 7 grams of protein. It's what vegan protein powder is made out of, peas. So just mixing in to make sure that everything is covered with the spice mix and onions and garlic and ginger that we just made. And I do want these to cook for a little while longer so that they can make sure that they take on all of the spices and flavor. So what I'm going to do here is just put a little bit more water, maybe half a cup of water, so it doesn't stick, and then I'm just going to put the lid on and leave it for 5 minutes or so. It's been about another 5 minutes since I put the lid on, so I'm just going to open it and check it. It's great. I'm just going to add a little bit more salt. I also ran out of cilantro, so I'm going to add some dried cilantro to it as well. And it gives it a bit of a nice herbaceous flavor. And there we have it, pea and potato curry, or aloo matar, made in just under 20 minutes.